it is perfectly all right. So it's available, but it doesn't mean that you have to watch it all, or no. That will be given. It will be inspired. You will be told what to do all the time. If you listen, you know what to do. So you won't be too exhausted, or you won't overextend yourself as an like a way to accomplish your awakening as another ego trophy. No, that's not working that way. So yeah, bringing it back to Joel and bringing it back to this beautiful talk, like bringing grace into expression. I love that. I love that idea. I love that as a title. But now Joel is doing something with that, and I want to say take a look at the certain points, certain aspects of it that he's sharing in this London talk that he did in 1961 or something. So I prepared a couple of sheets that I want to show you with some expressions, not too many, but just to yeah give this to you because I discovered it. So I share with you my findings, so to speak, my experience. So the London talk, bringing grace into expression. This is one of the 25 talks. And bringing grace to expression, Joel shows us, in fact, this what I just shared with you too, is like you bring it to expression by receiving that for yourself. And that's an energy, that's a moving, it's moving you, it's palpable. You can, you will not forget it, that it happens to you. All right, so here we start with something that is always coming back in Joel's talks, like the belief in two powers. So the belief in two powers is your enemy and mine. The realization of God as one power eliminates your enemy and mine in proportion to the degree of our realization. Now, I'm just picking this because there's some kind of contradiction in what Joel is sharing in this talk. So that can be like used as a paradox that he wants to bring in to make a point clear. I don't know exactly. So here Joel says the belief in two powers is your enemy and mine. Well, if it would be my enemy, then I would fight it, right? As a normal human response, I would fight it or deal with it in a certain sense. Or who knows what we're going to do with that. So the realization of God as one power eliminates your enemy and mine. So that's an interesting expression, and especially that word eliminates is where I want to take a look at, because he's referring later on in the talk to something that Paul expresses that sounds to me like almost the same as what Joel is expressing here. Now the realization of God as one power eliminates your enemy and mine. So and that's like, okay, so when you experience God as one power, when you experience the love of God in you, like it literally takes care of the idea of enemy. So it's not that it does something to your enemy or it does something to your belief. Well, it's like it completely dissolves. So eliminating sounds a bit intense, but it's okay. That's a choice. That's the word that came through for him. So I'm actually using this to make a point clear. It's like the realization of God. If you realize God, if you actually come into a realization of God, then the whole idea of enemy or the whole idea of two powers dissolves, right? So here Joel says, and that's also an expression that's not so easy to hear, in proportion to the degree of our realization. Now, that I have difficulties with that expression because of the idea of if I realize God, if, like I'm getting out of this, Where am I? Where's my cursor? So if I realize God, like if I am in an experience of God, there's no degree of it. It's like, no, it is either I'm in the experience of God or I'm not. And those two are different things. So if I'm in the realization of God, the whole idea of two powers disappears. There is not a middle way in that. There's not a little bit of that. It's like, no, you either experience the love of God in a temporary or momentary experience and see that everything dissolves, or you're not experiencing the love of God. That is how I personally experience it. It's like it literally obliterates every belief, not just the belief in two powers, but every belief that you can have, because the allness of God is the light and love that is your reality. So that starts to resonate within your consciousness, and it doesn't give any space to anything else. There's not a little corner in your mind where you keep that for still, like as an idea. No. So that's the difficulty with, Joel uses it a lot, the idea of degree. And that doesn't work for me. In my experience, the experiences that I have with it, like either I'm experiencing the love of God or I'm not. There's no two ways about it. So it either dissolves or it doesn't. It's not, you can keep a little bit of my illusion and a little bit of God. This is what the ego is always looking for. I want to make a deal with. I want to experience enough light to have a better human life. I want to experience enough light. Like I want to give everything to God, at least most of it, so that I am healthy and can have a nice life. Like this is where, say, ego mind is looking for. As to make a deal with God about it, or with itself, of course, because it doesn't make any sense. So that's why I brought it up. Continue, because there are more expressions, and not that I'm going to pick on them or anything. No, it's more like, I love to share this with you. If I seek for God for a purpose, I will defeat my purpose. If I seek for God for a reason, I will not obtain it. God must be sought for God, for the experience of the realization, and for no purpose. Then, in the experience, it fulfills itself. And what is this? This is like the wordless prayer that Joel is always sharing with us, like the wordless prayer, without desires, without purpose, without reason, without any kind of, human idea related to it, of getting anything, changing everything, or improving everything. Like that has nothing to do with it. So this is all about God realization. In fact, bringing grace into expression by just radiating it, not for any other, not for another purpose. So really important. Paul, he says here, was all wrong when he said the carnal mind is enmity against God. Be assured that it isn't. And so enmity, I'm going to look it up. Enmity. It's like aggression, you could say, or carnal mind is aggression, or like being an enemy against God. It's like, be assured that it isn't, Joel says here. There's no enmity against God. God has no enemies. God is not fighting with anyone. God is not contending with anyone. Now here, this is interesting, of course. It's like Paul was all wrong when he said that the carnal mind is enmity against God, like an enemy against God. and be assured that it isn't. And why is that? Why is that there's no enmity against God? Why is that? Does God experience that? No, God does not see that. God has no enemies. God doesn't know. It's like your whole mindedness, your Christ mind has no idea about two powers, two like opposing powers, or any kind of any idea where there's opposing, like conflict or tension or any of those things. Like there's no such thing as an enemy to God. For God, there is no such thing as an enemy. The whole idea of enemy is not of God. The whole idea of conflict is not of God. The whole idea of so why is that? And it's actually even conceptually pretty easy to follow, but the experience of it is even greater. It's like, why is that so? Because you could say like God being the allness, being oneness, being the totality, including you, has no separate parts. It is all one. It is one mind. It is oneness. It is wholeness. It is like one of a kind. It's all the same stuff, so to speak. Like it's all the same. There's no part. There are no separate parts in it. So you can say like we're so used as human beings, so used to thinking in terms of opposition and of enmity and of conflict and tension and quarreling, who knows what, lamenting, fighting. You know the whole drill. You know the whole drill. So that has so nothing to do with the allness of your true being. So that's why it's so great to meet and say stand still for 20-25 minutes with the idea of the secret of peace. So this secret of peace is just suddenly revealed to you again. It's like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Oh yeah, no, there are no separate parts. Who can be fighting who if there are no separate parts? Like, no, that is not possible. So it's literally like impossible. The whole idea is impossible and has nothing to do with God, no matter how hard you scream that God is part of it, or that you want that God will help you in your battle or in your conflict, or who knows what. You know, all this is so great to see that even the slightest temptation that you can have in your mind, thinking that God might help this or that separate part in order to win or in order to prevail. Let that go. It has nothing to do with the reality of what is actually going on. And that's so great to remember. It's like the allness of God is total. It is absolute. It is not an opposing power. There are no opposing powers. The whole idea is crazy. It's like the whole idea is insane. And there's no such thing as an opposing power. God is absolute power, in which you are in which you are a whole part, and all inclusive, no exceptions. God's grace, Joel says, God's grace, the fruitage of God's grace does come to certain parts of the globe, even when being absent from others. Now this is like, okay, in terms of the allness, that doesn't make sense. But we're continuing. But this is not because of God's doing. So God's grace is infinite and is omnipresence itself. Therefore it exists universally. But since this grace can only enter consciousness, but rather can only enter activity and expression through consciousness And as consciousness, it will appear in those places and at those times where consciousness has been prepared for the experience. Now you can imagine what Joel means here, so I will not tissy fit on the words, but there's no conflict in this. I'm not going to create a conflict with Joel. So the allness of God, this is all about you. So don't worry about anyone else. Let's start first with you. Let's start first here with me, with you. There is no world. It's like it comes down to I have to accept this for myself. No matter whatever happens here in my world. I have to accept this for myself. That is my only concern. You want to see grace come into expression? Accept it, receive it, accept it, receive it, stay with it, invite it in, breathe it, live it, let it come to you. That's your practice. So this is your only concern. Everything else is taken care of. By you realizing this for just one moment, for just this tiny little bit, you remember that you are the extension of the love of God and that you are receiving grace, and that comes into expression through your receptivity, through you receiving. And that is all. So is that happening right now? Yes. Yes, why not? Why not is that happening right now? What else are you going to do than to allow this to occur to you? Yeah, absolutely. So it can come to you. It is welcome. Welcome it in. Like, yes, absolutely. What? Nothing to lose by giving up my ideas, my beliefs, my ideas of conflict, my ideas of someone else, my ideas of a world. There's nothing to do with it. So here I am, not knowing how to do this at all, and allowing that just to happen to me, just that it can come to me. And that is all. All right. So thank you so much for listening.